Hey everyone, I'm the Road Running, and today we're gonna rank Star Wars Disney Plus TV shows. Now, just as a warning, most of this will be a Google Slides presentation because I had some issues with the last program, and for now I'm going to maintain, for a majority of my projects, Google Slide presentations and Google Docs on explaining how each of my projects are gonna work until I find a better software. So besides that, let's begin. So, before we start, I'm gonna give a spoiler warning because I will be getting into some spoilers. Now, because I tried to make a few copies of this video and it didn't really work well and I have limited time to record, I'm just going to try and give a somewhat brief look over of each of the shows. So, a few of the pros, a few of the cons, a few of the characters. Whatever, so let's begin. So, at the last spot, we have Young Jedi Adventures, which, on the one side, you get Yoda. On the other hand, you have a bunch of obscure, idiotic characters with no plot, no connection to the rest of the universe, no morals, no lesson. Well, you get some morals and lessons, but they're for toddlers. You have no reason why they're here. There's no continuity. And the animation sucks in comparison to every show that's come prior for Star Wars in terms of animation. It's worse quality. The Clone Wars show from 2003 was better than this. This looks worse than the shittiest anime you can find, and I'm not a fan of anime. I mean, seriously, this sucks. Anyway, besides that, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, you've got some cool action scenes. You've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor coming back, and Hayden Christian Anderson playing Darth Vader with James Earl Jones voicing it. You've got a charming Obi-Wan. You've got an awesome, powerful Vader who will slaughter rebels. And you've got Kumail Nanjiani being a funny fake Jedi. But the cons are, Princess Leia is depicted as a 10-year-old and annoying. And you break some points of canon because you don't demonstrate why this show has a necessity for existing. A majority of the characters are annoying, killed off, and all of the points are tied by, well, the Emperor said not to do this, so even though we know that one of the most powerful Jedi is alive, we're not going to intervene. So, in addition to this, you also have plot armor. You have several instances of where characters will have mortal wounds and they'll survive. And you'll have other characters that have have weaker than mortal wounds, and they'll die. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. There's no point to it. Anyway, Book of Boba Fett. The build-up was amazing in The Mandalorian Season 2. You get him killing off one of the head criminal bosses on Tatooine. You get him slaughtering a barrage of stormtroopers, including shooting 2 gunships down with 1 rocket. You have a giant, cute, black-colored Wookiee. You get Cad Bane, one of the most beloved fictional characters in Star Wars history that does not have any powers, come back into the fold, with the voice actor returning to play him since Clone Wars. He has been known as a beloved cowboy-era figure, a reminder of why Star Wars looks the way it is, but instead, you make him look stupid. You make Cad Bane killed off easily by a nerfed version of Boba Fett, which, by the way, they nerfed Boba Fett. Although they mentioned him as a cool badass who has incredible physical ability in the show prior, which is less than a couple days before the pilot of this begins. You have him act as an elderly man who can't fight his own battles. You have cyberpunk robo-bikers who were created just because cyberpunk is considered cool. You have bad CGI, with the Pikes having their masks knocked back as they're supposed to go down. I mean, seriously, it's worse quality than a Doctor Who episode of the 60s. I mean, come on, it sucks. Also, the Pikes, a majority of they had no characterization. They were just greedy. They just wanted spice, and that's it. You have no other purpose. You have no other connection. Now, I love irredeemable villains, but you need to give some other motivation to any of them. All of the Pikes look the exact same. You have no character backstory or demonstration on why you should care about the Pikes. I mean, there's no reason to have a villain if there's not a connection to why they're needed as villains. And besides that, Star Wars Visions, this was an anthology TV show, which, an anthology, it can be good or bad. Like What If, it's good or bad. Some episodes are great, they're compelling. You get interesting characters based on different cultures, such as the Ronin, which is a Japanese samurai-style Sith who kills other Sith. Basically, a Sith hunter. Basically, Venom in the recent Marvel comics where he slaughters symbiotes. And besides that, you also get incredible designs. I mean, if you look at the quality of this animation. I mean, I'm not a big fan of anime. However, the quality of this looks like some of anime's best. However, the problem is that there are a lot of bad episodes as well. And anime and a majority of this felt like you brought in anime just for the purpose of it being anime. You didn't bring it in for plot reasons. There's no purpose for it. You don't have anime because it's good. You have anime because it's anime. And that just sucks. Star Wars The Clone Wars, the final season. So, you get compelling character-driven stories. You get Darth Maul, who, if you haven't watched it, he is this tyrannical figure. He has taken over Mandalore. He has been the one who killed Obi-Wan Kenobi's master. He is one of the most compelling and driven villains who originally started as a random brute who came in to kill a master and then die as one of his only two lines is, "Oh!" as he gets impaled. And then you later turn him into the most smart and cunning mass villain outside of Palpatine. You get to turn him into a badass who can slaughter armies, who can slaughter Jedi Masters, and a guy who can lead an entire planet behind the scenes while controlling an entire criminal empire, which includes the aforementioned Pikes. You get to reveal several plot points that connect to other reasons, such as how Ahsoka and Captain Rex survived the Clone Wars, and how they're both not dead or mind-controlled. You get to represent how the Spider General from Clone Wars, don't remember his name, but there's this giant Spider General. Here, I'll look it up for you. So, the Spider General had a monocle, he had goggles. And, well, his name is Admiral Trench. He was part cybernetic. And he looks like this. Now, I hate spiders. I hate them with the entirety of my heart. But this actually looks cool. You get a giant spider psychopath going around exterminating people. A twist on the stereotypical regular status quo. And that's fire. However, even though you get good points like those and the introduction of the Bad Batch, which will later be discussed, you also have the story being divided, which weakens the focus. There is only 7 episodes of this show, and it was divided into 2 arcs that could have been explored better. You have some filler episodes, such as half of the Ahsoka coming back to the Jedi Order arc, which was included for little to no purpose. And you have characters focusing on plot points from previous seasons, which, if you aren't a Star Wars, Clone Wars fan, then you're going to be confused if you watch this, which makes sense. It's because it's the final season. Here's a zoom in, the final season of the show. But still, for a show, you need to have some reasonable depiction of an ability to include and introduce yourself to a new show, even if you're stuck, which weakens the general focus. And also, this is the first actually good project on this list, which there are only a few more projects left on the list. This is about the halfway point, or the next project is, whatever, but still. Anywho, Ahsoka. There are some entertaining fight scenes. I was enthralled with this and Clone Wars because it is a reignition of my childhood memories. It is nostalgia. You get to reintroduce characters like Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars, Sabine Wren, Hera Syndulla from the Rebels, and eventually Ezra Bridger, the protagonist of Star Wars Rebels. You get all the best characters. You get Admiral Thrawn, who is the best Star Wars villain without powers. He is able to have a strategic mind that rivals, if not beats, Palpatine. You have him able to create an entire fleet of Night Sister-powered zombie stormtroopers and enlist the power of Dark Jedi. And you get the R.I.P., rest in peace, Ray Stevenson play Baylan Skoll, a compelling Dark Jedi figure with the only canonical orange lightsaber outside of his apprentice, Shin Hati, who might be mentioned later, probably not, but still. You get him demonstrate a continuing thread of him his entire motivation being trying to stop the proliferation of a trend between Rise of Jedi, Fall of Jedi due to Sith, creation of Galactic Empire, Fall of Empire, recreation of the Jedi. He's trying to end that spark. And as a result, it makes him an original villain because no one else outside of Yoda has seen this trend. And he's the only one who's actually tried to do something about it. The problem is that, like I mentioned with the Obi-Wan show, plot armor. You get to have Sabine Wren stabbed by a lightsaber, and she didn't die. I mean, seriously, what the fuck? Also, you change the backstories and personalities with Caleb Doom, Kanan Jarrus, Hayang, who is the robot tutor. He's right over here. Robot tutor to the Jedi. He only saw Kanan in canon at the Jedi Temple, and he still referred to him as Kanan, even though his name at the Jedi Temple and his original name is Caleb Doom. And finally, it leaves on a cliffhanger. What I hate most about a show is a cliffhanger. When they end things off, and then you don't get a conclusion. They're probably going to make a season 2 for this because it brought in a lot of money, and because the fans won't be happy if they make another cliffhanger like they did with Clone Wars twice. But still, it's an entertaining show. It can be corny, and they've changed character stories like Sabine Wren and Kanan Jarrus, as Sabine Wren is also a douche instead of a fun and chaotic anarchist. But it's still a fun show. You'll have a lot of fun watching it. You may hate some of it if you're a previous Star Wars fan, but it's still going to be fun. Tales of the Jedi. Now, this decided to bring compelling backstories and continuations of old stories that were barely touched upon. You get to bring in Ahsoka Tano, who a majority of lore is mystery. And you get Count Dooku, who has even less of his lore known to mystery because half of his work was cut out of canon by the Disney merger. But, nonetheless, you get to see how Ahsoka has changed over the years, how she's risen with the Jedi Order, and how she's trying to become the person she is today, a wise and just master. And how Count Dooku has slowly shifted towards the dark side from originally seeing injustice in the world and trying to stop it, and later seeing that idealism shift towards the dark side. How fear and anger can turn into frustration, greed, ambition. And how even the most idealistic people in the world can turn into monsters, which is a lesson that should still be learned and respected today. And also in addition to this, the story of Yaddle, which if you don't know who she is, she's basically female Yoda. Now, Yaddle in Star Wars is female Yoda. She is originally shown in Star Wars The Phantom Menace, but she has never seen an Attack of the Clones. So when you have this show, you introduce Yaddle once again, and you demonstrate how she survived, and why she isn't present in canon anymore. And you see Yaddle perish. You get to see Yaddle suffer. Although it's incredibly sad, you get to see the reason why. You get to see how Count Dooku's fall from the dark side has shifted him to become a monstrous individual, how his idealism has been later torn apart and changed to only believe in the chaotic goals. To have Dooku say to her, before he kills her, "Let me give you peace, Master Yaddle." Which to me is one of the coldest lines when you're killing someone. Let me give you peace. Even though she knows the horrible things that you will do, he says to give you peace. You can tell that there's some idealism, but it's been shifted and changed to how he's turned into the devious being that you know today as Count Dooku. How this man, who sort of looks like Liam Neeson, but is played by Christopher... I forgot his name, sorry, but... how he got shifted and changed and turned, so that way Christopher Lee and Corey Burton change and perish and turn to the dark side. Andor, the number 3 slot, which portrays more mature themes and messages and demonstrates that Star Wars isn't just for kids, it's for the fans. It's for how people get introduced to Star Wars as a kid and how it grows up with them. It's one of the reasons why people like Star Wars and why people like media as a whole, because the media grows up with them. It grows with them, and it shifts and changes and turns into a more complex and dedicated arc for fans. You get to see context on who Cassian Andor is, which I don't know why, but he was a breakout of the film. People loved him. To me, I thought he sort of sucked, but for a lot of people, they loved him. And so you get a show demonstrating this. You get to see how he became the person he is. And you get to see the more complexities of both sides of the rebellion and the Empire, which, as there are douches on both sides, it's incredible and surprising to see how he chose this one. Also, you get Andy Serkis. You get the demonstration of how the Death Star was built. You get several different plot points that connect to the rest of the story, which, although Tales of the Jedi, Ahsoka, and Star Wars The Clone Wars did a lot of connecting, Andor built up one of the biggest space weapons in history. One of the biggest weapons in history, period. It built up one of the most famous pieces of film and cinematography. And it's beautiful. The only problem is there are few fight scenes throughout the show. There are some episodes that have 2 or 3, and there are other episodes where you have none, which is boring. Also, some of the other characters like Mon Mothma, who you can see in the photo, she is right here. She's colored in blue. She has red hair. She is one of the most famous and important rebel figures who is not really famous. And instead of trying to connect and improve upon that, you do nothing. Which, to be honest, if you're a new Star Wars fan, you're going to need that context, and I doubt you want to watch a bunch of other movies and read a bunch of Wikipedia pages to do this. So, just a warning there. Number 2, The Mandalorian. And besides that, The Mandalorian is a classic Star Wars sense of adventure. You get to see him, a jacked up, muscular, cowboy, space warrior version of Pedro Pascal, who, as known by many, is the internet's daddy. Having a child in a baby Yoda. And you get to have this mixed together with CGI, with amazing CGI and costume design. Giancarlo Esposito as one of the main villains who gets Mandalorian armor and is one of the most compelling Star Wars villains without power, outside of one other that will be mentioned. And you also get to demonstrate cool cameos that bring old characters to the forefront, such as Boba Fett, Ahsoka Tano, Paz Vizsla, and the Vizsla clan of the Star Wars Clone Wars. More and more. The only problem is that there is little character development for Mando, which is his nickname. After the season 1 where he shifts from a cold hard dictator to a father figure to Grogu, Mando has little to no character arc. There's little reason for him to exist. Most of his arc serves as a character inspiration and a character build-up for other characters. His show has become the build-up of backdoor pilots, which has decreased its quality. Not to the point of Andor, which Andor's still good, but it leaves it as second place to my personal favorite, The Bad Batch, which the Mandalorian, Andor, you may see how the Empire has affected societies once the Empire is done, or how the Rebellion and the Empire aren't really so different. But with The Bad Batch, you get to see not only how the criminal element of Star Wars changes to be the same practically, but you get to slaughter the good guys, which is somewhat depressing. You get to see how the people are changed, how they're truly oppressed. You get to demonstrate how people can just be taken away. How if you have a different blood type, if you have a different life, if you have some sentiments to say against the Empire that aren't strictly with their code, you're gonna die. They show the true sentiment of why Star Wars exists. To serve as a commentary against the Nazis, a commentary against totalitarianism, a commentary to understand why we need to have wise, just, and honorable leaders. In addition to this, you also get the X-Men, practically. You get the Star Wars equivalent of the X-Men. You have Hunter, the leader of the team. He has enhanced senses, someone's a Wolverine. You get Wrecker, who's like Colossus or Juggernaut. You get the big guy, who serves as comedic relief. You get Omega, who is the second female clone. Which, to be honest, me and several others didn't think that female clones could exist because it's a male's DNA and you never see anything else happen to it, and there's no other DNA sparks that happen with it. So it's just a rare genetic anomaly out of several million clones over the years. You get Tech, who is a technological genius. Pretty self-explanatory, but still. You get Echo, who has a robot arm, as you can see here, due to his experiments done on him in Clone Wars Season 7, which is a really good watch for those you see that you might want to do if you were to watch this. And if you were to do this, sorry I misspelled this for a second, but you get Crosshair as the final member, who he originally serves as a somewhat traitor and somewhat mind control and somewhat betrayal, and then later reunion as a sniper figure with the best aim in the Empire, and the best aim of the Star Wars Army, despite certain enhancements and changes that have weakened his accuracy due to experiments done on Mount Tantus, which has also demonstrated how the cloning program has led to Palpatine in the sequels. This show builds up not just the Empire and why they serve as a major threat. It not only provides classic Star Wars adventure similar to Mando, it not only gives reason to why certain characters exist and how Captain Rex is alive and how he's been trying to help others and how he's built up this world. It builds up Star Wars as a whole. It builds a society. It builds upon the art style and writing quality of Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Rebels before it. It built upon the greats, and it might even be better. It's still a debatable question. The only problems that some may have is that you need to watch Clone Wars for context, and Omega, the main character, can be annoying at times. But she's a teenager, and at least you can understand how she got the way she is, unlike Leia. You can understand how she got to the characterization she is today. There's still a reasoning behind it. Also, besides that is the end of my ranking. And based on your prior results, fair viewers, wasn't a lot of you, but still, enter the arena, fictional mythological battles. My version of Death Battle will be coming up after the Ideal Suicide Squad video next week, which I'm almost done with. Just making a few changes to the roster, and then it'll be done. And then if I have free time, I might even start recording this week. So, besides that, just want to wish you all thank you so much for watching. Hope you and all of your families are doing great, and hope you have a great day.